Good evening, all of you. So, is my presentation and my voice is audible to you? So, let us start the session today. So, in a day 8, we are going to discuss about different types of input or output, formatted and unformatted functions in C programming. So, now today, day 9. In this day 9, we are going to discuss about decision making statements, and also it will be also called control statements or selection statements. So the decision making statements is also called control statements or selection statements. So what is a decision statements or what is a control statements? So in any program, statements are normally executed. So for example, yesterday I executed this small program like int a is equal to 10 and a float b is equal to 2.2 and a character c is equal to some x. So while execution of this program, so it will go to executed line by line. So that is a normal execution. So sometimes we have a number of situations repeat a group of statements. So we have a number of situations repeat a group of statements until certain specified condition is satisfied. I hope you will be understanding what I am saying. So normally the program is going to execute it if it is a general program, then you have the program is going to execute it line by line. So I said that in previous class, int a is equal to 10 and float b is equal to 2.2 and character c is equal to c. So then while execution of this program, it will go and execute it line by line. So that is a normal execution. But in any programming language, we have a number of situations to repeat a group of statements until the condition will become as a false. So for that, you have to use these decision making statements or control statements or selection statements. So the selection statements or branching statements can be classified into two types. So one is called conditional statements and second one is unconditional statements. So again the conditional statements are if else, if ladder, switch. So these are the conditional statements. So whereas unconditional statements are break, continue and go to. So break, continue and go to are unconditional statements. So whereas conditional statements are if condition or if else condition or if else if ladder condition and switch case. So these are the conditional statements and these are the unconditional statements. So what is the difference between a condition and unconditional? So in a conditional statements, you are going to apply a condition. For example, a greater than b. So if a greater than b, so that is a condition. So whereas in unconditional statements, we are not going to use any condition. So that will be comes under unconditional statements. And this is a first conditional statements. So simple if statement. So here the simple if statement is used to specify conditional execution of the program statements or a group of statements enclosed in braces. A group of statements can be enclosed in braces. So a group of statements can be enclosed in open and closing curly brackets, or it is used to specify conditional execution of program statements. So for example, for writing of a simple if statement, so if is a keyword, if followed by condition, and followed by if this condition is satisfied or if this condition is true, then it will go to execute block of statements, or it will go to execute a single statement, or it will go to execute a group of statements or a block of statements. So the statements can be right, or the block of statements can be right in between open and closing curly brackets. So if it is a simple statement, if you are using only one line of statement in our program, it's not required to use open and closing curly brackets. So even though we can use open and closing curly brackets, it's not a problem. But when will be use open and closing curly brackets, if you are going to execute a more than one statement in our conditional statements. So if you execute more than one statement, then you have to write in open and closing curly brackets. Now coming into flow chart for this simple statement. So condition. So I said that in different types of flowchart symbols in day 1. So condition, for condition you have to write a diamond symbol, and if this condition is true, then it will go to execute a block of statements, and if the condition is false, it cannot go to execute any statements. So why? Because it is a simple if statement, there is no else statement in first condition. So that's why if the condition is true, then only it will go to execute the statements, otherwise it cannot go to execute anything. So that is a simple if condition. So this is an example here I am writing. So the program is to check whether entered number is less than 10. If it is 10, if it is S, display same. So display the number is less than 10. Otherwise you don't want display anything. So for example, here I am going to enter the number, it is a less than 10. So the number is what is the number I want to read by using a scanf function. So that number will be put it in the condition that is a n value. So for example, I am reading 6 from the keyboard. I'm going to read the value 6. Then 6 less than 10. So what is the number I entered from the keyboard that is less than the 10? Then it will go to print number is less than 10. Otherwise, for example, I'm going to read the number 12. So 12 less than 10. So then the condition is false. So whenever the condition is false, it is not going to print anything on your backend or on your console. So here the simple statement will be used for if the condition is true, then only it will go to execute the statements. If the condition is false, it cannot go to execute anything. And similarly, it does not go to display any value on the screen or on the console. So that is a simple if statements. And second example, so I'm taking a general example like so I want to check whether candidate age is greater than 17 or not. So if it is yes, then you have to display eligible for voting. So then for that, what you have to do, I'm going to read the age of the candidate from the keyboard. So for that, I'm going to use a scanf function. Then I want to read age from the keyboard. So what is the value I'm going to read as a age? So that will be substitute in the place of variable age. So then if that value is greater than 17, so then it will go and print eligible for voting. For example, if the age value is less than 17, so then it is not going to print anything. So that is example for checking whether candidate is eligible for voting or not. I hope you will be understanding what I am saying. So I repeat once again. So what is the value you are going to read from the keyboard? So that value will be substitute in the place of age. So if that number is greater than 17, then it will print eligible for voting. So for example, you are reading age is from the keyboard 5. So the age is 5. Then if you substitute in the place of age, so 5 greater than 17. So it is false. So if the condition is false, it is not going to print anything. So why? Because it is a simple if statement. If the condition is true, then only it will go to execute the statement. Otherwise, it cannot go to execute any statement. And similarly, it does not going to display anything on your console. So that is a simple if statement. And coming to third example, so here I want to perform three numbers and calculate their sum and multiplication. So I want to read the three numbers from the keyboard, and after that, if I enter the number is 3, then it will go and perform addition of three numbers as well as multiplication of three numbers. So for example, if I read only two numbers from the keyboard, at the time it is not going to perform addition and multiplication. And similarly, if I read four numbers from the keyboard, then it is not going to perform sum and multiplication. So whenever you have to read a value, b value, and c value, that means you have to read only three numbers. Then it will go check the condition. So if x is equal to 3, so if you are enter the number which will be belongs to the 3, then only it will go and perform a sum of a plus b plus c and multiplication of a into b into c. So that is a condition. If the condition is satisfied, then only it will go and perform sum of three numbers and multiplication of three numbers. Otherwise, it is not going to perform sum and multiplication. And that is about first simple if statement. So the simple if statement contain only if condition. If the condition is satisfied, or if the condition is true, then only it will go and execute the statements. Otherwise, it cannot going to execute anything. So now coming the second one, second conditional statement is if else statement. So here in if else statement, it contain two statements. So that is a true statement and a false statement, or a true block and a false block. So whereas in previous first condition, it contain only condition and there is no else block. So that means that if the condition is true, then only it will go to execute the statements in first condition. So whereas in a second condition, if the condition is true, then it will go to execute true block statements. So otherwise, if the condition is false, then it will go to execute else block. I hope you will be understanding what I am saying. So if the condition is true, then only it will go to execute if condition block. Otherwise, if the condition is false, then it will go to execute else block statements. So that is about if else statement. So let us take one example. So I will take the online compiler. Then I will go to execute my C program. So this is an online compiler. So as I said that, so the first one is so I'm going to read value. So if you want to display any message, you have to write printf, enter the number, or enter the age of the candidate, and every statement must be ended with a semicolon. And if you want to read age of the age value from the keyboard, then you have to use the scanner function, and followed by I'm taking number, it is a number, then you have to use integer data type, and followed by the variable is age. the variable is age. So then after that I'm going to check the condition if age greater than 17. So if the age is greater than 17, so then I need to print printf, so eligible for voting. So printf eligible for voting, and it will be terminated by semicolon. So this is a simple if statement. So here what are the variables you are using in our program? We have to declare in a declaration part. So for example, in my program I am using age. So then I will declare my variable is age. It is a integer data type. So then after that you have to execute the program. So now it will be asking enter the age of the candidate. So for example I entered age of the candidate is I entered the age of the candidate is 15. So I entered age of the candidate is 15. So that number will be substituted in the place of variable age. So 15 greater than 17. So if that condition is satisfied, then it will go to print eligible for voting. So if the condition is not satisfied, then what happens? See here. What happened? So it will print. It does not going to print anything. Okay, it is not going to print any value. I hope you will be understanding what I am saying. So for example, if you take second condition, that is if else condition, then you have to write else block and followed by so printf. So it is a false black. Then you have to write not eligible for voting. So not eligible for voting. So if age is greater than 17, then it will go to print eligible for voting. Otherwise if the condition is false, then it will go to execute not eligible for voting. Now let us again execute the program. So it is a semicolon. For every statement it should be terminated by semicolon. So now it will be asking enter the age of the candidate. So for example, as I said that if suppose I entered 16, so the age of the candidate is 16. So then the 16 will be substituted in the place of condition 16 greater than 17. So if that condition is satisfied, then it will print eligible for voting. If that condition is not satisfied, then it will goes to else block and it will print not eligible for voting. So now let us execute this code. So it will print 16. So it will print 16 only, but actually it will print else block and it will produce the eligible for voting. So actually it will go and print eligible not eligible for printing. Why? Because if the condition is not satisfied, then it will print not eligible for voting. So for example, let us execute one more time. Then I want entered. So then I want entered age of the candidate is 21. So it will print 21, same variable it will go and print. So that is some mistakes. So if the age of the candidate is greater than 17, then it will go and print eligible for voting. So otherwise it will go and display not eligible for voting. I hope you will be understanding what I am saying. So that is a if, simple if and if else statement. So for simple if, it contains only condition. If the condition is satisfied, then only it will go and execute this statement. So whereas in if else statement, if the condition is satisfied, then it will go and execute if condition block. If the condition is not satisfied, then it will go to execute else block. So let us open once again. So I will be open turbo C++. So while running of this one, it is not supported. Okay, anyway, so I will explain it here. So this is a flowchart for if-else statement. So if the condition is true, then it will go to execute true block. So if the condition is false, then it will goes to the else block, and it will go to execute the what are the statements which will be there in the else block. So after that, it will go to terminate. So if the condition is true, it will go to execute the true block and it will stop. And if the condition is false, then it will go to execute the else block and it will go to stop the process. And this is a program. So here read the values of ABC through keyboard, add them, and after addition to check if it is in the range of 100 and 200 or not. So print separate message for each. Okay, clear? So after adding of A plus B plus C, so that range will be in between 100 and 200. Then it will go to print the range will be in 100 and 200. So otherwise it will go and print out of range. Otherwise it will go and print out of range. So that is a program. So for that I am going to read three values from the keyboard, and after that I am going to perform addition of these three numbers. Then the resultant value will be stored into the D variable, and now I am going to apply if D less than or equal to 20, and so it is a logical AND operator, and D greater than or equal to 100. So that means that already discussed truth table for AND. So if both inputs are true, then only the output is true. So that means that if both conditions are satisfied, then only which will go on display the numbers in between 100 and 200. Clear? So the sum of A plus B plus that number which will be in between 100 and 200. So otherwise, if any one condition is not satisfied, so for example, first condition is satisfied but second condition is not satisfied, then it will goes to else block and it will go to print the number is out of range. I hope you will be understanding what I am saying. So if the condition is if the sum of A plus B plus C, so if that value will be within this range, then only it will print the number in between 100 and 200. Otherwise which will going to print the number is out of range. So that is the example. And next condition, so next conditional statement is if else if ladder. statements. So here it contain multiple if else if conditions, multiple conditions here. So for example, the syntax of if else if ladder is if condition and followed by statements. So if the condition is true, then it will go to execute the statements 1 and statement 2. So if the condition is false, then it will goes to the another condition, that is else if, and followed by it will go to execute the statements. So otherwise which will go to execute else block. So if the condition is true, it will go to execute the if condition. Otherwise, it will goes to else if condition. If this condition is satisfied, then it will go to execute the statements. Otherwise, it will goes to the else block and it will go to execute the statements. So this is a flowchart diagram for if else if ladder. So first condition, if the condition is true, then it will go to execute the statements. So if the condition is false, then it will goes to the another condition, that is a condition 2. So if the second condition is true, then it will go to execute the statements. So if the second condition is false, then it will goes to and so on. It will goes to another condition. So like that, which will go to execute the statements. So this is an example. So here in this example, I want to explain about write a C program to calculate electricity bill. You have to calculate the electricity bill for the given inputs. So here they given in the problem number of units are consumed. So it is 200 to 500. Then the rate of bill will be I have to substitute 3.50. And if the number of units are between 100 to 200, so it will be 2.50. Otherwise less than 100, then you have to the rate will be 1.50 paise. So that is the input given in the program. So this is a program for generating electricity bill. So for that here I am reading first one. I am reading the initial and final meter readings. So I am going to take the what is the initial meter reading and after consume the electricity and what is the final meter reading. So then with help of initial value and final value, so then I will go to compute number of units. So I am going to compute the number of units. So after So after finding final and initial meter readings, then I want to compute the number of units consumed the electricity. So for example, the final one is 500 and initial reading is 200. So that means 500 minus 200, then number of units will be 300. So if the number of units will be between 200 to 300, then you need to substitute that number of units into 3.50 paise. So if the number of units are lies between 200 to 500, then you need to multiply with 3.50 paise. If the number of units are between 100 to 200, then you need to multiply with 2.50 paise. So if the number of units are less than 100, then you need to multiply with 1.50 paise. So here for that I am going to check the condition. So if units greater than or equal to 200 and units less than or equal to 500. So if the number of units will be in between this range, then I need to substitute number of units into 3.50 paise. Then I got the bill, electricity bill finally. So otherwise it will goes to another condition. If the number of units are greater than or equal to 100 and number of units are less than or equal to 199. So that is less than or equal to 200. So then the price will be number of units into 2.50 paise. So then we will get the bill. Otherwise you can go to another condition. Else if the number of units are less than or equal to less than 100, then the bill will be number of units into 1.50 pice. Then we'll get the electricity bill. Then finally you have to display how many number of units are there, how many number of units will get for that corresponding bill which we will going to display. So that is about the if else if ladder. And another example, best example is to find the average of 6 subjects and display the result of the as follows. So if the average of the average is greater than or equal to 34 and less than or equal to 50, then the result will be third class. So if the average will be greater than 49 and less than 60, then it will going to print result will be second class. If the average is greater than 60 and less than 75, then it will going to print result is first class. And otherwise, if the less than 35, then you have to print fail. So this is a program. So for that, I need to read some subjects from the keyboard. So here I am taking 6 subjects. So the 6 variables I am using here. So then I need to calculate sum of these 6 subjects. Then resultant value will be stored into the sum variable. So after that I need to find out the average of these 6 subjects. So then I need to find out average is equal to sum by 6. Total number of subjects are 6. So that's why I am taking here sum by 6. So then I need to print what is the sum and what is the average of marks. So based on that average, then I will go to substitute here. If the average, for example, I will go and check it whether is any subject getting a less than 35. So that is if any subject is got less than 35, then it will go to print fail. So first condition I am going to check it. If any subject got less than 35, then it will go and print the result is fail. Otherwise it will goes to another condition. Else if the average is greater than 34 and average less than 50, so then it will go to print third class. So if the average will be available in this range, then you have to print second class. So if the average will be in this range, then you have to print this condition, that is a first class. So if the average will be greater than 75 and less than 100, then you need to print it. The result is a distension. So here some mistakes are there. So it is an average. So while typing, it will be giving some typing mistakes here. So it will be an average variable only. So that is about if else if ladder. So I will continue the next switch case and followed by unconditional statements in the next class. So up to now, if you have any doubts, you can share your doubts in the chat box. You can post your queries in the chat box. So I will stop today here, and if you have any doubts, you can post your queries in the chat box. So if you have any queries, you can post in the chat box. So if you are understanding today class, you can give a yes in the chat box. And if you don't have any doubts, that's all about today's session. And if you have any doubts while watching this video, then please post your comments in this video. I will try to answer your queries. So that's all about today. Then we will go to meet the next session in day 10. Thank you.